So I usually try to find like a lot of positivity, even out of things like Raw, which is hard to watch. But that segment the other night, that was something. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Good to see you and good to have you here on the show. And tonight, whatever, we're talking about the segment on Raw with Eva Marie making her Evolution re-debut, and she went up against Naomi, but didn't, and we got a whole switcheroo, and so did WWE, according to all the plans, according to Fightful Select, and we had Piper Niven make an actual debut on Raw as the pseudo replacement, henchman, bodyguard, whatever you want to call it, for this match. Piper Niven comes from NXT UK. She's a fantastic performer. She's done amazing work in NXT UK. I actually really enjoy watching her. Eva Marie had the previous gimmick where it was all red everything, and remember a few years ago where, you know, they would come up with all of these ideas for her on SmackDown where she wouldn't compete and they'd figure out ways for her to get out of the match. When they did that at the moment, it was entertaining enough. It didn't have legs. It wasn't going to go very far, but I found it at least entertaining to see what they would come up with to use some creativity. It's a crazy concept on Raw. Just forget about it. So on Raw this past week, we get Eva Marie coming out. We think that we're going to get this one-on-one match with Naomi. That's what they actually advertised. And then we get Eva Marie coming out with Piper Niven, who is nameless for this match, who the commentator didn't even announce her by her name. There's no mention of NXT and UK or anything like that. Just who is this woman that's with Eva Marie? The match goes on. Piper Niven puts in a good performance for herself. At the end of the match, Piper Niven goes over and Eva Marie announces herself as the winner. And Piper Niven is like over the moon with, you know, working with Eva Marie in this match and in the whole relationship thing. It feels like they're trying to go with this whole thing of evolution is Eva Marie's way of trying to bring up other stars to bring people under her wing and, you know, get them over in this way, and she will not fight. And then she even touted on Twitter how she has an undefeated streak going on. So there's some nuggets of creativity in there. But again, how much legs does this thing have? And it really feels thrown together. And even according to Fightful Select, it really seemed that way over this past weekend. Fightful Select writes this. Fightful Select reported some interesting information regarding Piper Niven ahead of her debut on Monday Night Raw last night alongside Eva Marie. The report notes that Piper Niven debuting alongside Eva Marie was the plan as of the weekend, but that was dropped. However, those plans were reinstated, and Piper ended up debuting on the show. Due to the rapid changing nature of Raw, Fightful notes that it was unclear whether or not Niven would be debuting on the show, but she did end up appearing and beating Naomi. The report also notes that the name Dewdrop had been considered for Piper Niven, who was nameless on last night's show, on the main roster, and you guys can go and check out Fightful Select. They do amazing work. Go give them a shot because you can get all the great wrestling news over there as well. This just screams of Raw, of not knowing what to do and where you're going and what the plan is. Having these reports of them changing the tune on what they want to do with this over the weekend shows that there was no plan, and that they didn't know what they were going to do with this debut. They didn't know what they were going to do with Eva Marie that they had ran vignettes for over the course of a month. So they even built up the main character, but then they didn't know what they were going to do when it was time to actually debut. So then they brought in Piper Niven, who again, great talent, but it just shows that there's this really, really broken behavior and lack of continuity across Raw and across WWE, and it gets infuriating sometimes. And let me know what you thought about this whole segment in the comments below, because I want to have a conversation with all of you about this and what you thought about this segment. Am I missing something? Did you actually enjoy this? Did you find some actual good in this? But it gets really, really muddy when WWE likes to try and put itself over as trying to compete with mainstream drama, television, entertainment on main TV, and not competing with, you know, other sports. They're competing for your eyeballs. And we're supposed to go in, you know, blind and just sit back and be spoon-fed these segments, these matches, and just accept them for what they are and enjoy it. And that's seems to be the commentary from Triple H, as he said the other day, where he says that the fans ruin the shows for themselves, the fans ruin the product for themselves by touting how we should just sit back and just let it happen to us. Where fans get frustrated, and like where fans like me get frustrated, is that you see a character that you have made, that you are building on another piece of your brand and your programming for NXT UK, you bring them over to another show, and you don't even give them a name. You don't even address them by their name. You couldn't even say that they were from NXT UK. You gave us nothing to work with. I understand you want to be able to focus on Eva Marie for this, as it's her debut, but you're clearly trying to set something up where there's a relationship with this person and Eva Marie. Naomi is just fodder. She doesn't even matter at all. And that's terrible because Naomi is a former women's champion, and you have her just lose to this. Nothing of it is consequence. And then you'd like to think, well, let's see how this plays out over the coming months. Triple H's comments and feedback to fans was that we're too eager to know what's going on behind the scenes and everything. And I'm paraphrasing here, but we're eager to see what's going on down the road, that we don't really sit and enjoy the product and what's happening in front of us. It's hard to enjoy that because, again, the lack of continuity and not focusing in on characters and where they came from, and even recognizing that, hey, this is one of our NXT UK stars. What is she doing with Eva Marie? Even if you don't want to give her a name, even if Vince is like, hey, I don't want to name her Piper Niven, it doesn't work for me, it ain't gonna work for me, brother. Even if they don't want to use the name and they want to go with this dewdrop, which sounds to me like a classic WWE thing where it's, here's your list of names, pick a name, and this is what they were coming up with. It makes no sense. But if the commentary team could at least put over the fact, again, you had this person go over in the match and win the match. If you at least had them recognize, hey, this is one of WWE's stars from NXT UK. Why is she here? Why is she helping Eva Marie? What's this relationship all about? We really didn't get any of that. The focus is supposed to be on Eva Marie and what she's trying to do. And there's just threads and little tiny bits of actual, substance there of a storyline that you're going to build. But where are you going to go from here? Sorry if we want to look forward of what the product is going to be next week. It's about tuning into next week and what the show is going to be like. But I'm more perplexed as to not so much of like, ooh, my curiosity of this great story development. You can have Eva Marie with a bodyguard. You can have her with Piper Niven. That could all work really well if you want her to take over. I get the idea there, but it's all within the execution. And when we get reports like this, that things are switching at the last minute, again, for the millionth time, it doesn't bode a lot of confidence. You've brought in Eva Marie back again to run basically the exact same character. The rumors and reports were that she was training in NXT. Now there was always even the threads on Twitter the other night of Eva Marie saying that we want to go after the tag titles. Like, there's just nothing there. It doesn't make any sense. She posts on Twitter that she wants to go after the tag titles with Piper Niven. Is that the angle? Is that the thread that we're going with? Is that the direction? Then fine, be it. We need more in the women's tag division. We need a women's tag division. It doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense. And this is a big, big problem that WWE has with their stars and frankly with NXT specifically, from regular NXT to NXT UK. If they bring anybody over to main roster, they don't seem to know what they do and they ignore all of their history. Look at Asuka. We had Asuka undefeated in NXT for nearly 2 years, then got brought over to main roster. She beat everybody. And when she got over to main roster, she fought Emma in a full match. And nobody was afraid of Asuka and what she would do to them, recognizing what she had done in NXT. She was just brought in kind of cold, fought Emma twice, got over, but it's taken such a long time. Nobody was worried about that. There's only been a certain handful of times where they've actually done things kind of successfully, where you saw Kevin Owens fight John Cena originally, where he had Finn Balor debut and basically get fast-tracked to win the Universal Championship, got injured, but they at least were going in the right direction with that. But there's countless times where we have NXT stars come over and it's just blank slate. Everything you did before doesn't matter. And that's hard to swallow too, because you have stars that put in years of work, that work really, really hard, have incredible matches, and then they get brought to main roster and nothing. Aleister Black, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, they came up. Ricochet, like those guys came up and then they put the two of them back down in NXT and they didn't want to do that. There is Bobby Roode. There's countless times where they've done this and it's not working. If you simply acknowledge the other half of your product, it creates the semblance of a universe like Marvel, which is a lot of the reports out there too, is that WWE wants to be like Marvel, and not that they want to make movies, but that they want to create a universe, like they always tout, of all these characters. And you could have these story arcs and lines of story going in and people can be interwoven. But when there is no connecting thread, it's all cold and it seems as if there is no consequence and it doesn't matter. I am sorry that it is a rant of sorts tonight, but it just really bothers me because I want to enjoy the product. And I even want to see like, okay, if I have minimum to low expectations for an Eva Marie re-debut and what this is going to be, I'm at least curious enough and giving the benefit of the doubt that they're going to do something of consequence, and let's see how they're going to reintroduce this. And I just don't buy that they have a long-term plan. So it's almost like, okay, how long is this going to go on for until it burns out and they drop Piper Niven and it all kind of disappears again? Who knows how long the contract is with Eva Marie, and how long can you really sustain that until it just turns? And you're going on the road as well when you have real fans. The thing that kind of protects WWE right now and puts them in a real bubble is literally the Thunderdome. You have no live audience and you can pipe in the boos and the cheers. When you get into a live crowd, how do you guys think that this would have turned out with a live audience? Would we have just been flat, confused, booed it, like got the reaction they want? They want heat on Eva Marie. They're getting it, but is it the right kind of heat? I am curious and really curious, obviously, of where they put a lot of these storylines going forward, but I'm more so curious about how it really plays out when we get live audience, live fans in the arenas, and how they truly react to these things that are going on WWE television. Because NXT, I can see everyone getting excited, putting their money out there, enjoying the product, being loud, being crazy, and booing and cheering. When it comes to Raw and SmackDown, I really wonder what they're going to do with a lot of these characters and stories, because I feel like so many of them are going to fall flat, and that's not what we really want as fans. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of this segment overall? Did it work for you at all? Were you disappointed? What do you think they're going to do with this thing going forward? Just as one example of where WWE seems to have a real problem with its characters, developing stars and creating, you know, storyline threads. It's a wild world of wrestling, I guess, and it's the wild world of WWE and Vince McMahon's mind, but let's see what happens next week, I guess. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's episode of Assemble. I'm Matt. Thank you so much for watching, and if you can, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel as we are making our way to 3,000 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy. Thank you all for watching, and as always, thank you all for assembling with us. See ya!